Factory squatted now for I think that 9 or maybe 10 years, and it's an old bike factory where the buildings were built in the old Yugoslavia. I think that in maybe the big building was built in the new Yugoslavia. It was built in 50s, and it was the main bike factory in Yugoslavia. And then when Slovenia became independent, the factory went bust, and then it was closed for, I don't know, a few years, and then some initiative came and squatted it. I think there's maybe 15 people who are living here, and yeah, there's no problem with them, or it's good for the squad to have some people who are here
permanently
most of the time, because of, I don't know,
they contribute
security.
a lot to the community.
Yeah, they contribute a lot.
House over there, like there live, like most of the individuals that live in Rog, I think, live. There's a place that's called Juka Squatted, and the group there is mostly philosophers or social study. On the other end, which is a skate park.
A big skate park.
A big indoor skate park.
Yeah.
And it's managed by another group of skaters, obviously.
There's this big hall that has concerts and also parties, and it has good sound equipment. So it's a like cool place for having music. And it's for, I don't know, for 500 people maybe can go.
Once in a while the municipality declares like, okay, this at this date we're gonna start doing stuff here, and so we're gonna have to move out, and then the date comes and it passes and nothing happens, and that's it. You know, that it was the same way every time. So like, yeah, it's really simple, you know, there's simply no money to do with anything with the place at the moment, you know?
parties in power in Ljubljana was actually have the prison here. So in the end it was a political prison, and also our Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister, was in prison here during our independence. So there was quite a lot of prison story, but now the architects and the artists decided that it's not going to be never a prison game, it's not going to look like a prison. So they totally changed the concept and artistically reformed the whole building into the, you could say, art gallery. So we have the 20 cells. Each one is different. It still has the original bars for door and windows, but at the same time each cell was unique. There was more than 80 artists that renovated those cells, and they come from all over the world actually. So this was the strongest concept here when you're going around the building, is the cells, and there's a lot of small architecture designs and small things that really reminds you that the building is quite special. There was quite a lot of fights to preserve the building because there was in some parts of Ljubljana it was really strong interest to make here new condos, and they didn't want to have alternative scene here in the center of Ljubljana, so it was quite hard to preserve. And when the hostel Celica gained such a strong reputation all over the world and so many awards, it actually also preserved the whole area here. So the story of ex-prison, which was transformed into the art gallery, into the hostel, this is the first thing that is really strong. The second is that we are the only one with a bar, with a restaurant, and there is a lot of thing going on. Each night there is a different story, we have a different event. So there is, you can meet here Slovenian people that like to come find, to join and to hang with the locals and with the tourists. So it's a mixture from Slovenians and the tourists that come here, and it's a great vibe.
Metelko is autonomous cultural center, which is occupied already 22 years now. It's from Yugoslavian army, and when the Yugoslavia broke, this was left empty, and then it was a lot of initiatives which were fighting for the place, mostly like cultural initiatives and social movements, civil society, and which got organized and wanted to have some places.
You had this group of the people who were really strong also in the 80s with this alternative culture, that all these 80s when this alternative culture was really growth, you know, it was really important also for Slovenian independence, identity, and all this stuff. They started to fight for this place, but this fight was legally because they were talking with the city, getting this place totally legally and transformed Metelkova in cultural center. But the process of negotiation and communication with the city started in the 90s till 1992, when this fact to sign it, the contract should happen in 92. The city changed, you know, the idea, and they started to think that maybe they will not give to the culture this place because this is gold ground, you know. And they started to they think about, you know, change it in the shopping mall or transform it in the parking garage, make business here, you know. But I think the one important and common opinion is to protect Metelkova, to protect this autonomy of Metelkova. In all this history of 22nd years of Metelkova, these threats from outside that, and all these plans to transform Metelkova in so many, let's say, more economically profit place, but Metelkova survived.
Popotniško was made in renovated building 6 years ago. Just now we'll have the 6th anniversary. It was an abandoned object for 12 years, but before it was well-known and legendary cinema for big Hollywood productions, mostly in ex-Yugoslavia, in ex-socialistic country. So it is also the cinema, but mostly it is the concert house, the club house, the house with wide open concept for every genres of creativity, for example, for exhibitions, for performing arts, normally contemporary arts, for audiovisual projects, for multimedia projects, and so on and so on. Probably because of the tradition, the history of alternative movements in Slovenia, mostly in Ljubljana, not only Ljubljana, of course. It was always the place of freedom, the place of cultural, you can say, a kind of craziness, you know, and it is still now that. It was in the 60s, it was in the 70s, it was in the 80s, the 90s, and still Ljubljana is, you know, in comparison with some metropolis near to Slovenia and so on, it is still avant-garde city.